Sorry, guys. Okay, so we're gonna have public comment, and you're gonna get 3 minutes to speak. And I'm gonna call your name, and you have your 3 minutes. If you decide you don't want to speak, then just say decline.
Before you start, just to let everybody know, this building is capacity of 50 people. We have 50 people. If one more person shows up, I'm going to have to ask people to leave or shut down the meeting, one of the two. Just to let everybody know.
I would volunteer to watch the door and not let that person in. And I'm also out, so I'll be better.
Okay.
And the only fair way to do that is to ask people who don't live within 1.5 miles of the city to leave.
Absolutely.
No.
But
The other option is when you're done.
other option is I shut down the meeting if I want to.
When you get done speaking, you might step outside.
Just to let everybody know.
Thank you for that.
Thanks, David.
Go get him, Bill.
Carol McCumber.
That's me. I don't have a lot to say. I just want to say this whole project was put upon Douglas County. Kind of, none of us asked for it, none of us wanted it, and yet we had to deal with it. The same thing appears to have happened to you. This came upon you in the last 2 months, and you've been deluged with it, and you've got to make these life decisions. And you know, it could be very easily taken care of if you choose to do that. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judy Harper.
Yes, my name's Judy Harper, and I live south of town. I didn't know too much about all of this going on before most of you knew about it. So when I found out what was going on, I did a lot of, research on the computer, reading everything I could get my hands on. And I've come to the realization that turbines are not fit to be around people. There is a lot of things that go on. There's a lot of sickness they cause, the noise, the wind, the flicker. There's just all kinds of things that can cause a lot of problems. None of the other towns have let them be within their 1.5 miles. And I just think, I feel like I'm a resident of Longview too. I pay taxes here. I mean, I get city water. If those turbines ruin your well, it ruins my water too. So I'm just appealing to all of you to keep them out.
Thank you. Michael Holmes.
See if I make it through or not. I'm nervous, so I'll probably cut it a little short, but 2 years ago, EDP's CEO and head of the EDP Renewables were named as suspects in a corruption probe. You'd think that after that, EDP would completely scrap them from the company, from anywhere on their website. That's not the case though. Fast forward to today, those two individuals are respectively the president of EDP's executive board and the other board member. We're not fortunate enough to have those two individuals with us this evening to tell us how Portugal's priorities may or may not line up with the priorities of East Central Illinois. But we do have project manager Amy Curry here. I talked to her before the meeting. She is nice to talk to, so nothing that I say is personal against her or anything like that. It's just, I'm against the project. In today's online edition of the News Gazette, she stated that the wind farm in the northeastern part of Douglas County will include 48 turbines. Even without your approval for these turbines located within your jurisdiction, she is brazenly bragging to local media that the work has already begun. She added, quote, "To the naked eye, the turbines will be a light gray color," Kurt told the News Gazette. "They are meant to blend in with the sky." Now, we may not have a lot of PhDs in this room, okay? But we have a lot of common sense. They're not going to blend in with the sky, okay? And if they do, I'm hoping airplanes see them, because these things are going to be really, really tall. Further, 50 megawatts a year will be provided to a private purchase agreement to a private purchaser for an undisclosed number of years. Why the secrecy when it comes to telling the American taxpayers who help fund these projects through tax credits the truth? Back in 2012, the Panagraph newspaper in Bloomington revealed that companies, including EDP, are waiting for Congress to review a possible renewal of the tax credit after the November election. So that was back in 2012. It's our tax money that's helping fund these tax credits. You can't even tell us who's going to use the energy. This may be our first rodeo, but EDP has been in this arena many times before. I have newspaper clippings here from 2013, 2014, 2015, from Waterloo, Morris, Illinois, Moline, Illinois, all with Ms. Kirk discussing wind projects. Amy is here in our communities now, but for how long? If history is any indication, she isn't likely to stick around to join a church, to attend your kids' and grandkids' ball games, or to deal with any of the potential health risks associated with these wind turbines. It's us in this room who will be dealing with any potential problems. The only thing Ms. Kurt will experience in relation to this project is a paycheck from EDP, and likely another assignment in another small, unsuspecting American town. The wind may be invisible, but what EDP and Ms. Kurt are doing is easy to see. Thank you.
Ma'am, if I may, real quick, you guys have an adopted public comment policy?
Well, yeah. Yeah,
You guys have adopted one that sets a 3-minute time limit?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
When was that? Because we didn't set a time limit at the last meeting, did we?
We did. We can decide if we want to change that time limit at our meeting. Our meeting can't go till midnight.
Well, there's no
It
vote
just
to
seems
change
It's a
a
matter
little small.
of being reasonable.
I just wondered who decided that. I didn't, I wasn't in on the 3 minutes.
Would you like to vote on this?
There's
No, I just wondered who did it. It's a logical question.
We did not post anything that said there was a certain number of minutes anybody could speak. There was nothing that we had posted, nothing in our minutes. We didn't say 5 minutes and changed it to 3.
So there's no policy adopted? That's all I was wondering. If there's a vote taken, that would be adopting the policy. I was just curious whether there was or not.
We did not take a vote on the amount of minutes, but we, like I said, we cannot be here for hours and hours and hours. And we're accommodating everyone. We made a list. Everyone who wanted to speak, we put on the list. We asked if you wanted to speak, please get your name on this list. And if you do not, we do not want to honor you speaking if you decide later. I think that's fair. As far as the policy, we're into new ground. We are used to having this amount of people at our meetings. That's it. I mean, and I think some of our meetings have been so boring that if you had a problem falling asleep, come to our meeting. So this is different ground, but if you're trying to ask if we are violating any kind of code, this is all new to us. I think we're trying to do the very best we can to handle the amount of individuals, which we now know brings us up to 50.
Actually, the question was focused towards ensuring that you guys don't violate someone's rights and then end up having them come after you for saying you did something you shouldn't have.
And what would that be?
A violation of the Open Meetings Act. If you don't
No,
have-
we are not violating the Open Meetings Act.
If you don't have an adopted policy with a time limit, and then you restrict people's time, that would be a violation because you don't have an adopted policy.
And we've had-
Okay, so we've answered that question. If you feel like we're in violation, please do your civic duty to report it and we'll handle it at that time.
It was a simple
I
question. got my
understand, but
answer.
we have things to deal with now.
You bet.
It was supposed to have been on the agenda on June 8th. It says it would be on the next agenda to vote on it at 5 minutes speaking, and apparently it did not on the agenda.
Okay. I'm doing the best I can, you guys, with
I know you are.
everything that's come my way. Okay?
And technically, I have the paper at home that says the clerk's not even supposed to speak during the meeting unless spoken to. And she does most of the answering and talking, which really needs to be your job. And I'll bring that paper here on the next meeting.
Are you gonna help shut down public comment like that, Melinda? Because
No,
you
your mom
could.
does.
No, but you could as well. I'm just letting you know too.
Well, I agree with what he said, so no, I'm not shutting
We have a
nothing
board
down.
to run meetings to run instead
And there
of going
you
back
go.
and forth. and like you don't, let's talk about that.
Okay, come on, guys, let's
Get back
get back to where we need to be. Come
My
on.
Lord's all reading the paper.
Anyway, sir, did I miss you when I was asking people to sign this so we could go through methodically?
Not at all, I'm not trying to imply that people aren't going to speak.
Well, you already got to speak, and I don't recall that I asked, that I gave this to you, and you didn't volunteer to put your name down on
My name's on it.
it. Is it?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not in capacity anymore.
There we go.
Nancy Allen.
I will decline only because I had video that I was going to describe, excellent video, shadow flicker and noise, and both of those are not protected. We are not protected by them in the ordinance permit that they have issued in Douglas County. If anybody would like to see it, it would not play in here. It will play outside, and I will happily show it to you because it is the best demonstration of shadow flicker and noise that I have found. So I will
Do you have an
decline.
email address?
Yes, I do. I
Please.
will give it to you.
Can you give it to me now? Just say it. You can-
No, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say it about it.
Thank you.
Jim Allen.
I think I can speak on behalf of the people here. I want to thank you first for your grace under fire. It's difficult, I know. Thank you for that, first of all. I thank you for letting us come and speak to you. I want you to understand that nobody in our group receives any compensation. Nobody gets paid for ink or paper for mileage or anything like that. We are here, and I don't want you to ever think that we're trying to tell you what to do. I don't want to do that. I want to be here simply as be able to give you advice, or not advice, information when you would need it. Industrial wind turbine complexes can sometimes be a steamroller. We know that where we are. We had zoning that took care of our 2 townships in December. It looked like the zoning going to hold up in court. By February, the law written in February. By April, it had gone through the House. It was heard in the Senate before it was even cleared the House and was signed by the governor in 2 months. One of the positions I take is that if this is so effective, it would be a very easy situation for them to go ahead and petition the same people who have a law declaring them personal property and won't pay taxes. We will be able, if you ask, to present a great deal of information. There are certain things that I don't want to deal with because I'm going to try to deal with facts on this. Mainly, I want you to know that the Village of Longview has complete authority in that mile and a half. I think that will be reinforced by attorneys. You have the authority. Nobody can, if they threaten to sue you, it's an empty threat. And the threat's been made time and time again that they will sue. Matter of fact, I was told by somebody that attended a meeting when the township voted for zoning that they would sue them where they had no money. I'm not afraid of anything. I just want to say thank you for hearing us. And if you want the information, we'll certainly be glad to give it to you. You don't really need to do anything. If you do nothing, they can't locate you. You don't have to pass it or something else. And I will be corrected by a lawyer in a minute if I'm wrong. Okay? Pardon me?
They need to adopt it.
They do? Okay, I'm wrong. Okay, I'm wrong. The one thing I do want to mention though is that among the things we asked for that wasn't given, I don't know why, was an unredacted safety manual. And the setback is 1,500 feet, whereas the manufacturer themselves says, I think for even a smaller tower, 1,640 feet. We did not join this to keep windmills out. We came into this because our county board used a 2009 ordinance and kept it throughout the time when turbines went from 300 feet to the 600 feet. That's not reasonable in any other situation in my mind. They refused to consider anything and stayed with that same ordinance. In fact, when they gave the permit, they ignored the one thing in there, such that they would negotiate with non-participating farmers on aerial spraying. That was something that was in there. The board ignored that, and the response was, they can work it out. Well, they just gave a permit to a company, and you tell me if you can work it out, somebody else has all the power. That's why we're here, not because we wanted it to be out. They met me as mayor early on, and it was Chris Matthews, I called him. I went as one of the councilmen, went around and talked about it. But over time, every single thing has been against any reasonable amount. So I'm not here to tell you what to do at all. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for your time, those folks, because I listen to meetings too. It can get that way, so thank you very much.
Tom Clare.
Hi, I'm Tom Clare. I live west of Longview here a little ways. Just a few points I wanted to make. I had rode up on the bus with two of the trustees here to Hopedale, and along with Amy and her sidekick. And as I was riding in the bus, I was pointing out, you see that elevator over there, Bongard, the Sodom, Anderson Grain. These things will be 3 times higher, taller than those elevators. To give you an idea how tall they are, the Villa Grove water towers, they're 150 foot. Stack 3 of them on top of each other, and you've got a turbine sitting up there. How do I know? I've worked on all those elevators. I've been up and down them too many times. I know exactly how tall they are. We got up to Hopedale, and they had a speaker to come in, and they talked a little bit. Of course, he's only going to tell you all the great stuff and everything. And then we listened to that, and then we went on out to one of the turbines, and we stopped there and got out of the bus, and the guy said, that one over there is about 1,500 feet. My hearing's not that great anymore, but this, you can hear it quite clearly. Quite clearly. Then we started, I think Martha brought it up before I did. What about the water supply? What's it going to do? I'm going, that water is only 55 feet deep. How do I know? Because my dad and I put it in way back when. So I knew where that water's coming from. It's all, there's veins underneath feeding your water system. You go digging big holes for the turbines, you can disturb that ground and that water coming into your water supply quality and everything else. Myself, I had to put a new well in because it went dry. I don't know why, it just did. It's 55 feet deep too, but it cost me another bunch of money to put that in. Another little, Amy had mentioned, well, our engineers can take care of it. Well, if you remember, we got Recon Tech down here at Newman. Those engineers were going to take care of that problem. And then how do I know that? Because we worked and we built a lot of equipment for them, and then they never could figure that out. So when the engineers Amy said, well, we can figure out the water problem if it comes out. Well, they couldn't figure that out. There's a lot of things that engineers can't figure out for sure. So I'm very concerned about the water supply there. I got one other little story here. When the landfill over here at Villa Grove, they were going to bring down Chicago's junk and garbage over the years, and they were going to make it into a snow mountain. Well, a bunch of Villa Grove people got together, we fought it, and they stopped it. They got that garbage stopped. Otherwise, we'd have garbage from Villa Grove over here to Longview probably. And then in closing, those who live near the national parks are privileged to enjoy the natural beauty and protected and untouched and preserved by generations to come. I love where I live, the farms, the plains, the fields, the homesteads, they're my park. When I look out here, I drive to Sydney, what a great road, you know, it's beautiful. Not to look at a bunch of windmills here. So if if you allow one more thought, and that is, whoever's the fella that named Longview, if he knew where this was all going, Longview's views are not going to be very long forever there. So again, you got this buffer allowance, use your authority, because if you don't, you lose your authority to those people there. So, snooze, you lose.
Bob Albin,
I decline.
Bill Harper,
Yes, I'm Bill Harper. I live about a half mile south of town. We have fire protection from Longview. We have Longview City Water. I have a health problem with my heart. I have a pacemaker. I'm very concerned about my health, about the water supply, and about the value of my house, because they're scheduled to put 5 of these things within a half a mile of my house, and 2 of them probably within 1,500 feet. Now, do you think someone's going to want to come and give me what my property is worth after this happens? And I can almost assure you it's going to destroy my health. So, I'm very concerned. I want you people to be open, use good common sense, but I urge you, block it. Thank you.
Rick Porter,
Before we get anything else.
Yeah, that's our clerk.
Sure. Can I ask how many trustees are there?
This is it. And then we will have 6. Not tonight?
Good evening. My name's Rick Porter, and I want to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm an attorney who represents many people in this room and dozens of people that will be filing a lawsuit in the near future against EDP related to the Douglas County proceedings that occurred there. What has been misunderstood, I believe, by many in this room is that somehow if you do nothing, you don't have to worry about any turbines being built around you. That is incorrect. The reason that you're here is because I was the attorney that pointed out to Douglas County that Longview was within 1.5 miles of many of the turbines that are being proposed. That's illegal. You are the only ones that had the authority to approve any turbines within that 1.5 miles. That's in the municipal code, and it's a statute that I provided in your materials. You'll find that statute in your materials. And that's 11-13-26. What that statute provides is that within 1.5 miles of your zoning jurisdiction, you are the only authority that can cite or approve turbines. The county's code has a similar section that says within 1.5 miles of municipality, they do not have authority. But Douglas County ignored that. They went ahead and approved them. Has there been an application filed with you guys by EDP?
No.
So they're ignoring it. They're hoping you do nothing. Because if you do not do anything, I'm going to be the only one that's here arguing that jurisdiction is improper and that whole proceeding was improper. And they're going to point out, but Porter, you don't represent Longview. And you represent all these other people. They're going to argue that I don't have standing to bring up your issue. They're wrong. It's a jurisdictional issue. But you need a lawyer. And arguably, you have to file a complaint by July 24 of 2019. That's what's going on here. And we're going to do that. We're going to file that complaint. I understand you're entertaining hiring an attorney. If you do that, I can work with him and help him get a complaint on file that can then be added, consolidated with ours. But you need to do that ASAP. You could also hire me, but that gets complicated because I represent some other people. We're never going to negotiate with the turbine company. So I have a variety of things I can tell you if you give me a little more time. And it's time well spent with you guys because I'm the only person in this room that probably understands the law in relation to this topic. Can I have a few more minutes? Okay. So you're aware, Douglas County did not require them to do any shadow flicker analysis. You don't know how much your homes are going to be subjected to shadow flicker because they didn't require it to be done. If you guys pass an ordinance that requires that, you can say, no, we're not going to allow any shadow flicker, or a lot of counties limit it, or in your situation, municipalities limit it to a number of hours, say 30 hours a year. Right now, no study was done. We don't know. You'll see in the materials I gave you that there is a noise model that was done. It actually shows that there are over 100 exceedances at people's property lines of the Pollution Control Board noise regulations. The county ignored that. You have a right to stop that from happening to your community. The other thing that the county did not require is that the turbine company do a property value protection plan. You can require that if they're going to site turbines in your mile and a half, that they institute a plan that will protect your property values. And it would allow them, make them buy your homes and or pay you the damage and value of your homes. Douglas County did not do that. That's the reason there's a mile and a half buffer for municipalities, because you don't want huge industrial projects being built within a mile and a half of the municipality and then stopping all development of that area. That's why you have that buffer. But you've got to get a lawyer. If you do nothing between now and July 24, I hope the court will agree with me that this project should be stopped in part because they violated Longview's authority to site turbines in a mile and a half. But a court may come to the conclusion that I don't have standing to bring that up. He would be wrong, but that may happen. If I don't represent you, or if you don't hire a lawyer that gets in there and files a similar lawsuit, it may be forever lost. And we are already mid-July. You have very, very little time. There's also an argument that you have 90 days, but if you want to be very safe, you file that complaint by July 24, which is what I'm going to do. I give you my materials. If you hire a lawyer, have them reach out to me. If you personally need to talk to me, I'm more than happy to do that. But sitting on your rights will not work. If you do nothing, then they're going to try to build the turbines. And the only way that you can stop it, despite the clear law on the topic, is to get a court involved. We don't have self-help. You can't send the police out and just stop it. You've got to have a court order that says that you're correct and that they can't build it. So you've got to get involved. You've got to get to the courts.
I got a question. The mile and a half reaches into another county. I'm very confused about that because it seems like our jurisdiction would end at the county line.
It does not. So the Illinois Municipal Code, it's the one in here, 11-13-26. Hopefully my secretary got in here. Yeah, she did. So it's 65 ILCS 511-13-26.
I've read it.
And the plain language is, a municipality may regulate wind farms and electric generating wind devices within its zoning jurisdiction and within the 1.5 mile radius surrounding it. Then you go to the county's code, which is, the most relevant one is 12020. I've got it highlighted again. So 55 ILCS 5/5-12020. And it provides that a county may regulate wind turbines in unincorporated areas of the county outside of the zoning jurisdiction of a municipality and 1.5 mile radius surrounding the zoning jurisdiction. So it doesn't talk about whether or not two counties are traversed by that 1.5 miles. All it talks about is you've got a 1.5 mile buffer, extraterritorial jurisdiction is what it's called, around your zoning jurisdiction. And they're violating it. It's absolutely clear. I pointed it out. You would have thought Douglas County would have stopped it from happening once I pointed it out. They did not. They went ahead and approved despite not having the authority to do so.
See, all I'm concerned about is if we go forward with an ordinance that we have all our i's dotted and all our t's crossed, and we have nothing that somebody can come back and, bite us in the butt with.
What I'm telling you is drafting an ordinance is great. It may be too late. Douglas County has already approved. In their minds, this is just building permits. They can start building. You read in the paper that that's their intent. So you drafting an ordinance that has different requirements, EDP might decide they don't want to follow that, period. If you don't do anything to stop them in the court of law, you didn't do anything to stop them in the court of law. So you may be just wasting your time going through the effort of drafting an ordinance. By the way, I can provide exemplars, if you hire lawyers, I've done them for Adams County, Warren County, Grundy County. So I can help and get you where you need to be. But I'm concerned because there's already been a county that's approved the project. And so there's going to be an argument that when you draft that ordinance, it doesn't matter because they were filing under the ordinance that existed in Douglas County. You've got to get involved in a lawsuit. That needs to be what you're most concerned about at the moment, is being sure that you're protecting your rights. And Douglas County just tried. I don't think they knew, by the way, that the turbines were within a mile and a half of you guys. They literally didn't understand that when I first brought it up. Any other questions? I'm trying to honor your time limit. I could talk all night about the impacts. I assure you they are great. If you guys get involved, file an ordinance, and require EDP to file an application to try to site those 7 turbines that are within your mile and a half, at that time, you'll probably see me again, and I'll show up. If you do an actual public hearing, I'll show up with experts on noise, shadow flicker, property value loss. Douglas County didn't allow that. They did the same thing, no offense, you guys just did, to establish a 3-minute time limit. You see, I barely got my name out in 3 minutes. I just don't work that way. I need a lot more time in order to present the evidence to you guys. And that's the way most hearings, public hearings occur. Douglas County actually didn't hold a public hearing. I didn't get to cross-examine. I didn't get to ask anybody any questions. All I got to do was make a 3-minute statement as quickly as I possibly could, and it was frenetic, and it did not carry the day. Luckily, Douglas County did hear about the decommissioning issues, and they made some changes. They heard about the aerial application and made some changes. God knows what would have happened if I hadn't been there. So take a breath, get involved in the lawsuit. All you got to do is get a complaint filed. I can help with that. Whatever lawyer you hire, I can help him get that filed, and then we move on from there. And once you've at least preserved your rights, then you can start worrying about ordinances. That would be my advice.
Okay, so I have a question for you then. We've got a time limit of, I wrote that down someplace, of July anyway.
July 24th.
But how long would it take to get that complaint filed?
It's taken us over 25 days to draft one. And it's a several hundred-page document. If you hire a lawyer that has no experience in relation to this type of litigation, it's going to be a daunting task for that individual. No doubt about it. You are way, way behind at this point. But I'm here, I'm around, somewhat over the next, whatever we got left here, less than 2 weeks. I'm available. I actually take off for a vacation July 31st. There is an argument you have 90 days. And I would prefer that you not have to worry about making that argument.
Would they gain anything by establishing a moratorium?
That's a brilliant idea. I wish I thought of it.
Hi, well.
What's your name? Sorry.
John Pratt. They did
It's
that
absolutely
before, yeah.
correct. The moratoriums are legal. They've been used many times in relation to wind turbines. And while EDP may decide they don't care that you pursued a moratorium, it's certainly, they are legally defensible. And there's lots of case law that says just that. Now, it's not on your agenda for tonight. I wish I had thought of it before I walked in here. I did not. I'm glad you brought it up. It is a very smart move. You still need to get involved in that lawsuit, and that's my primary recommendation. But if you were to put it on an agenda, have a special meeting, vote, for a moratorium on any wind turbines being built in the mile-and-a-half in your zoning jurisdiction or the mile-and-a-half surrounding it. And then EP goes forward, you gave me a lot of ammunition. It's a really, really good idea. So I do recommend that someone make such a motion at some point this evening and move forward with that. Whether or not you can do it this evening when it's not on the agenda, it's a little sticky. I would feel better if you made a motion, set another meeting, and then did it. Great idea, thank you.
No problem. I'll send you an invoice.
Send me a bill.
Hold up. Hold up.
That's all I can do.
Yep.
Ted Harkey.
Hi, I'm Ted Harkey. I came prepared for 5 minutes, so I'm going to try to go as quick as I can, and I'll stay ahead, okay? Okay, I live in northeast of Sydney. It's just the next town up the road. And I live in Sydney because I used to live in the wind farm, okay? I was one of those guys that had a yes wind sign in my yard a long, long time ago, okay? So this is my family in 2012. My daughter, myself, my wife, and my son Philip. So in the 70s, we had smoking everywhere in all the restaurants. In the 80s, we had no smoking sections here, and smoking was limited. This is where my mom put us at the restaurant. And then in 2008, now the setback is 15 feet outside the front door for smoking. Wind turbines are exactly the same, except this is where we are now with wind turbines, okay? So, this lady's Mary Barra. She worked for GM when they had the ignition switch problem go bad. And GM ignored it, and they ignored it. And people were getting killed because their cars were turning off because their keychains were too heavy, okay? She said, when she talks to college graduates, she says, hope is not a strategy, okay? What you have going on here is serious. I'm going to emphasize it as I go through this. So the reason I live in Sydney is that this is my previous house right here. This is near Hope Church in Illinois, north of 50th. And this turbine is 495 feet tall. It's a 2-acre blade suite. And that is the nearest one next to my house. That's 1,665 feet away. I don't know what the nearest turbine is planned for Longview, but it could be as close as this, right? The next nearest, third nearest, is 3,147 feet away. So 3,100 feet away, my house still looks pretty darn small with it in front of it, okay? The next one is 4,600 feet away. And then this little one here is 7,400 feet. That's approaching 1.5 miles. So this would be your view, or I'm probably a quarter mile from my house when I took this photo. My wife took this photo. So that's what it'll look like in comparison to your house when it's behind it. So this is my front yard. My bedroom corner is just right here, just off the sheet. So this turbine is the second closest. It's 2,225 feet away. This was the worst turbine for us because we were downwind of it. I think your turbines are going to be southwesterly of Longview. This is straight southwest of my house. This was the one that provided all the flicker, and since we were downwind of it, we're kind of in the wake of the turbine, and when these blades get up to the upper levels, they catch that faster wind. That's why these things have to be so tall. When it does that, the blades, when they flex back and forth, they let out like a little air pressure pulse every time it bows in and bows out, and that's the rumbling, thumping, heavy bass subwoofer noise that people complain about not being able to sleep, okay? So this turbine is 495 feet tall, and yours are going to be 100 feet taller than this one, okay? The fourth closest, let's see here, fourth closest is 3,454 feet away. So put this in perspective. This next furthest one is 7,200 feet away from where I was standing taking the photo from there. That's about your 1.5 miles, okay? This is how far out you can restrict the turbines to go. This is my daughter in July. We weren't sleeping. She was up at 11 o'clock at night. And she was upset. I tried to get her calmed down. It was very noisy in the room. And she wanted to go to her toy box and pulled out these Hello Kitty headphones. So we're wearing headphones in bed at night. This is not a tractor pull or demolition derby. This was in our bedroom at night. She was 5 years old. This is her bedroom window, and this is how much the spinning blade would use up of her bedroom window for that closest turbine. So that's quite a bit. My kids kept moving themselves into the living room, and one night I checked on them. They're both in the living room. I say to my wife, "Hey, it's a little bit quieter in here." We took our bed off our mattress and slid the bed and put it on the floor in here for the rest of the week. That weekend, I went up to the bedrooms, tore down the beds, broke them down, carried them down here, set them back up, and this is my wife's and I's bed, my daughter's bed, and my son's bed. We slept in here for the last 2.5 or about 3 months in this house. My brother came and visited me. He said, "What in the hell's going on here? All your beds are in the living room." And I said, "It's the wind turbine noise." And he said, "I didn't know it was that bad." And my own brother he just couldn't imagine it. So here's my house. This is just a quick map showing how close the closest turbines were. And for us, it was just about the noise. We just couldn't get used to it. It got worse over time. It's not like it's not that it's super loud. It's just that it never goes away and it wears you down like Chinese water torture. And it's the duration of it. You know, we can all put up with me talking for 5 minutes, but you don't want to listen to me for 2 hours. That's what I'm talking about, okay?
I have a question for you then. You're
Yes.
talking about the noise. Now, do you feel the vibration in your house?
Okay. I would describe it as a rumble, like thunder in the distance or subwoofer noise, or when someone comes to your house and they pull up, you don't hear them, they get out of the car, you don't hear them, but then they shut the car door in their car and you hear that car door close and you say, "Oh crap, I gotta get a shirt on because I have visitors." And it's that the thumping noise and you kind of get surprised by it, and it's off-putting, it's unsettling, and that's when we're waking up with like somebody just opened my front door coming in my house. That's the kind of noise it makes. And it's variable. Okay, so noise starts. If you guys decide to put some noise limits in here, widespread complaints start at 33.5 dBA. Adverse health effects begin at 40. So if you're looking at some noise levels, we could put that in there as a 39 dBA maximum noise level and protect your citizens. And this was the application for the wind farm next to my house. This is the front cover sheet. And in that application they said most sites are going to be 40 dBA outdoors, and this level is sufficiently low to eliminate potential for sleep interference. Then they predicted all the noise levels. The noise level predicted for my house was 43, and we left our house, okay? This is it. The next wind company that happened in Vermilion County was Apex, and Apex got good neighbor agreements with everyone within a half mile of their project. To me, that kind of tells me that's what the distance has to be for the wind company to protect themselves from lawsuits. Well, there were 3 families that wouldn't agree to that. And this is one of the deeds where the wind company bought their land before they built turbines. And this is another one. And then after the wind company bought their property, this one was for $295,000, they listed it for sale. And they said this property has a good neighbor agreement and it's $2,500 per year if you buy this house. So they're paying off the next person to buy it, $2,500 a year. And check out what it sold for. So they bought it for $295,000. They sold it for $117,500. That's massive. That's huge. That's 56% off. Okay? So there's a property value thing. I know that Longview struggles. I just live up the road. I've done some little surveys here in this town. Longview's struggling. First off, I don't think people should be chased out of their house because of thumping, rumbling noise. And secondly, if you try to sell and you have wind turbines and it's in a struggling town, that's to me, I think you'll have empty homes. People will walk away from them. I'm dead serious. I believe that. So my daughter was little. This looks like ingenious, right? So this is State Farm Center. My company did a little bit of work on this building recently. This is ingenious, a really cool idea. Some people say turbines are ingenious too. But my daughter drew this drawing when she was 7 years old after a dentist appointment at my office with the only things I had, red ink pen, black ink pen, and highlighter. That's all she had. And this is what she wrote. You may think wind turbines are good, but when you have 50 by your home, you can't sleep in your own room, and you try to sleep, but you can't because of the wind turbine's engine noise. I had to move into a mobile home because my mom, dad, and brother, plus me, couldn't sleep. And I want to show you something here. That's not ingenious, it's engine noise. To her, it was like a running motor all the time. Here's my house on Christmas Day, about a week after we left it. I went here to get my newspaper on Christmas, and I had never seen my house from the road when there was a snow event unless it had my tire tracks or my kids had destroyed all the snow. And this was probably a big low point because I had left this perfectly wonderful, amazing, great house, and we couldn't have it. We couldn't use it to sleep in. So I'm going to summarize here. Your only job is to protect health and welfare of citizens. It's not your job to make farmers make money. You're here to take care of your residents. I want you to make a decision on facts and science. And then earlier today, someone said something about engineers. So who can you trust? Engineers? Look, I am a licensed Illinois engineer. I don't say that I can solve all the problems. I just hope that you believe me that I'm telling the truth. This is really real. I would have never left my perfectly fine house to come here, and now I live in Sydney. It would have never happened. Here's a letter from my school superintendent. He knew of my problem, and he wrote this letter to some other communities. After we moved to Sydney, this is my kids' picture in our driveway. This was their first day of school about a month after we moved to Sydney. And from 2012 until 2017, when we finally moved, my kids grew up in this timeline. Porter, just this attorney here, his name's Rick Porter. Porter just got done saying, your time is short, running out. We spent this time period losing our house. We moved into a double wide trailer. We lived there for a year and a half. I gathered up every stitch of money I could get, and I bought another house that was 49 years older than my old house. And nobody does that. I didn't do any of this for fun. Here's a picture of my son. He started when we were 8 years old. I'm joking about now he's going on 20, but this kid has changed a lot too. And I almost brought him here tonight because this is the closest meeting I've ever gone to talk about this problem I've had. So I respect the rights of anybody to do what they want on their land. Of course, I'm a land surveyor. I think you own all the way to your property line, so you can use all of it. But I don't think your problem, whether it's your septic tank overflowing or your loud subwoofer bass, heavy-duty bass noise, or fixing up demolition derby cars, if that crosses the property line and it bothers the neighbors inside their bedrooms and their homes, they need to keep that on their property. So the wind company can guarantee that the kids will be able to still sleep in their beds at night, have them sign that piece of paper. And if they don't, they need to buy the house out from the family. That's all I have. I'd be glad to answer any questions you'd like to ask me. I'm sorry for going extra long.
Questions? How many people are abandoning homes? I mean, I've driven through your area, I've seen your signs.
Okay,
You don't have to have a number, but I mean a lot.
I'll tell you, in the wind farm where I live, there were 21 families with noise problems. 3 families left their houses and the house went into foreclosure. They left, kind of quietly. They didn't have any means to fight it. They didn't have a job where they could get through all of the negativity and the people bashing them and stuff. I had a lot of people saying I was a liar for a long time. And not until after I moved, people thought I was going bankrupt. Then I kept hiring more people and building my business up even more. Then they thought they made up all kinds of crazy stories. They thought I took in the money from the wind farm when I finally moved the second time, but that never happened either. My house still sat for sale for 3 years. Back to your question about people who left. There were 4 families that put their homes up for sale and they left. And I know that they were having troubles, but they didn't want to be the Ted Harkey and have the bullseye on their back like I had. It was very lonely, and there are lots of places that you can go on the internet and type in wind farm home abandoned, and you'll see a guy named Gary Scheineldecker and Gary Meyer. Those guys are from Michigan and Wisconsin. And I want to qualify this. The turbines that were built next to my house are the biggest ones ever constructed in all of Illinois and Indiana so far. They're almost 500 foot tall. There's some in construction now that are 600, but they've not been built yet. And when I go to Bloomington, I wish that it was those turbines that were next to my house, not the 500 footers. Maybe a 350 foot tall turbine, we would have been okay because the blades are so much shorter and they wouldn't flex near as much. Maybe, I don't know. I just don't know. Like at Apex in Vermilion counties, 100% of all the neighbors within half mile all signed a non-disclosure clause and they're taking the $2,500 a year, except for the 3 families that they bought out. So you won't hear of people moving from there because they already signed off.
Thank you. John Peeler?
Yes, ma'am. All right. So I'll try to make it brief. I don't have a 10-minute presentation infomercial on why I should be your attorney for a windmill suit, so I don't have that. I don't have a slideshow or anything like that. I don't have a lot of disputed published medical opinions and medical studies and published opinions of professors and professionals, but I don't know anything about windmills. Other than my brother lives right in the middle of the one outside of Paxton, and his children and my nieces and nephews show no ill effects from that other than just being crazy 5- and 6-year-old kids. They're perfectly healthy. So I was wondering about all these things that people were telling us was bad, so I offered when we first were in Newman to take a trip down to Royal and just walk around and ask people, have you sold your house? Do you want to sell your house? Are you feeling ill effects? Nobody wanted to do that, so I did it on my own. And then we went to Paxton and did it. And I went back and asked the people again to do it. They weren't interested, so I emailed the county board, and 4 of those folks went on their own and talked to people. And they couldn't find anybody that was willing to sell their house or having any effects. So I was wondering why all these people are sick from these things. Why isn't the CDC doing anything about it? You know, so I get on the internet and I look. And I have it on my phone. I won't bore you, but you can look for it yourself. They say there's really no substantial evidence to link that. If there were, the CDC would be making statements about it and trying to govern it, but they're not. Okay? I just want you to know the facts. The facts is Newman Township, Murdoch Township did not have any zoning before they started. They tried to adopt zoning. Murdoch spent $90,000. They'll be lucky if they get $4,250 back from their insurance company. Newman Township spent $65,000. I made a big beef about that. The people said, well, we were elected to be people of the constituents of Newman. I said, yes, but you weren't elected to put our tax money and our road money and wherever else you're going to get it in jeopardy because of your personal feelings that we don't even really know what the heck's going on for sure anyway. Now, they had 2 different attorneys at their public meeting that advised them, I would just wait it out and not do it. They did it anyway. Guess what? Now they spent $65,000 and they're not even sure if the insurance is going to cover it because they got to come up with another $2,500 just to pay the deductible before the insurance even will pay. And now the insurance is questioning that because you were advised legally not to do that. So before you give up $43,000 for your fire department, $370,000 for heritage schools, which if you look around here, they could surely use that. And if you look around the people that live in this town, which I have a relative that lives in this town, and I'm not going to tell you who that is, but they do by marriage, but they live here. So before you give all that up, I mean, $47,000, $43,000 for your fire department, buy a heck of a lot of defibrillators, Scotch air packs, upgrades. You live out in the middle of the country, I sure would like to have that money if my house was on fire. And I'd like to know that my children get as best education as we could, so if I could pump $370,000 into heritage, I would probably try to do that. So before you put yourself in hock and owe a lot of money, you miss out on some money, please take the time to go on your own and learn. Learn everything, not just the fear-mongering and the one-sidedness. Go find out for yourself, because you owe it to yourself, because you might not get another chance either way. That's all I'd like to say.
Nathan House.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for listening to me. It's hard to think that this battle has finally ended in your lives. And here we are discussing the pros and cons of wind generation. And we're on the eve of one of the biggest heat waves we've ever had. And as the temperature climbs, think about your life goes on as normal, the air conditioners turn, the lights are on, the status quo is all as it should be. But we need an alternative energy, and we do live in the middle of a corporate farm. This is nothing but big ag, with local farmers overseeing. Chemicals sprayed, plants come up year in, year out, and they make a good living on them. For 6 months out of the year, crops are growing, harvested, then we have 6 months of fallow land, of gray, nothingness. That's one reason windmills are painted gray. So, I'm just hoping that, this is all new to you, and it's all kind of blowing up in your face, but it's here, and it's happening, and I just thank you for listening to me.
Amy Kurt.
Hi, my name is Amy Kurt. I think you all know by now that I work with EDP Renewables, and we are building the Harvest Ridge Wind Farm in Douglas County. I know that I won't be here when this project is done. That's not the role of the project developer. The role of the project developer is to develop the project, to turn it over to our construction team, and then the construction team turns it over to the operation and maintenance team, and those are the people that will be here in this community. We've already hired one person. We're interviewing for the next job here. There will be 8 to 10 people based at our operation and maintenance building just a few miles down the road in the country in Newman Township. And those people, I hope, will go to your churches and your grocery markets and your gas stations for many, many years to come, because this is a long-term investment in the community. The Harvest Ridge Wind Farm will be here for our leases for 30 years, and then the option to extend for an additional 2 10-year periods, so up to 50 years with this wind farm. And each year we will be bringing great benefits to the community. I think you heard before, for the fire department, it starts at around $40,000 a year and goes down by, depreciates from there. For the Heritage High School, it starts at $370,000 in 1 year. These are real tax dollars that we've paid on all of our wind farms in Illinois. We've got 5 other wind farms in Illinois that have been paying their taxes for the last 10 plus years. So I think it's important to say that we have the permits that are required for this project. That's why we've started construction on the roads. We looked at the zoning that Longview has before we started this project, before we started the construction, and the zoning that Longview has does not incorporate the 1.5 mile area around the town, and it does not zone for wind. So we feel as though we are playing by the rules that were set out by the Village of Longview. We weren't hiding anything. We met with several village trustees. We showed you the proposed layout for the wind farm. And we've encouraged you to come to get to know our wind farms in Illinois and get to know our staff. And we are hopeful and we want to continue to work with you. And we are hopeful that we can bring not only those benefits to your fire department and your school, but also directly to the village. And that's really what I thought we were here to talk about, was bringing an actual direct benefit to the village of Longview, and what kind of an economic development agreement would look like for the village. So we are offering to work with the village on that. And I would hope that you would think about that before taking any of the recommendations from the attorneys that are not representing you that are here tonight. I would be happy to continue the conversation or answer any questions.
I have some questions. When I first heard about this was called the Broadlands Wind Farm. And as I understand it, that was a number of years ago. And was this supposed to be located close to Broadlands originally?
So the original project, we were testing the wind speeds in 4 different counties. We had Met Towers.
No, it's real easy. I'm sorry. We just have a lot of people that are talking. Was it originally proposed to be in the vicinity of Broadlands, which is right over there?
It was proposed to be in the 4-county region, incorporating Douglas, Champaign, Edgar, and Vermilion.
Okay, and I have another question too. The wind here is intermittent. We have a flagpole. I have a flag, and I was looking at this week, and sometimes it doesn't even fly. And then sometimes when we get a lot of wind, it does. I have a concern, and maybe you can address this. I understand that when a certain amount of electricity is produced, that I don't know what happens to it. Does it go through wires and where does it go?
Yeah, so all of the wind turbines are connected electrically to a substation, which the switchyard is already built. It's on.
Okay, so they go to a substation. Okay, and then where does it go? Is it like Ameren has with their electricity, where they have a central place? Like I say, I'm trying to understand, because as I understand it, when there is an excess of electricity, that you are pumping it into the ground. Is that correct?
That's incorrect.
Where does it go? So the electrons go onto the grid. The grid in this area is managed by, or is operated by Ameren, but there is an actual grid operator. It's called the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, and their job is to make sure that the demand of electrons meets the supply of what the supply of electrons meets the demand of what is needed.
I don't know how you can do that. I mean, the wind is, it's a certain number of miles an hour one day, and it's a certain number of miles an hour. It's not reliable. It's not like hydroelectric, where you can be right next to a river, or you can have a dam, and you know about the pressure that's creating the electricity. This is a very off and on. It reminds me very much of my small solar lights, where on a cloudy day, they don't work that night.
Yeah, so this is the job of the system operator, is to manage all of the different intermittent resources. I mean, all energy resources have to go down at times. Nothing runs 100%, 24/7, 365 days a year, forever. So the job of the grid operator is to know when the wind is. We basically predict out. We have people whose jobs it is to look at the wind speeds and monitor the wind speeds.
But some days you're going to produce more than others, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if Ameren were hooked up to your wind turbines and said, oh, Longview, you're going to get all of your electricity now from these wind turbines.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. It's way more complicated than that. Like, there's an army of people that manage our grid to make sure that the electrons that are coming.
See, I'm very, very concerned, because this was thrust upon us very late. I don't recall. I've been a trustee for what, 3 years? 2 years, 3 years, going on 4. I don't recall anybody coming to our meetings and saying, oh, by the way, we would like to do this. What do you think? It's all of a sudden that, I mean, it seems very suspect to me, and I have a problem trusting your company, because it seems like, well, Longview doesn't really rate. You're a very small town. You don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of influence, and so we can probably put these here, because everybody I have spoken to about wind turbines in Champaign-Urbana that I know says, oh, they're great as long as they're not in my backyard. And that is verbatim. Everybody says that. Now, why would you say that if the technology is so wonderful? And I can tell you something else. If the technology was that wonderful, I think the Chicago suburbs will be getting your windmills and not us, because they say, oh, sorry, you're way down the list. So as you can see, I'm not a fan. I do appreciate your comments. I don't know if anybody else has any questions.
And Carlton?
Yeah, my name is Ed Carlton. First of all, I heard a lot of things I want to touch on, a couple of things. It does seem like when we talk about the positive impacts that come to our community, it's all dollar bills. That's all we talk about, dollar bills in the city's pockets, the individuals' pockets. It's how much it costs to buy people to say yes. The second thing I want to talk about, what Tom talked about, people talk about the water. Longview's water is 55 feet deep. These concrete bases are going to be roughly 18 to 20 feet deep, possibly. That leaves 35 feet from the bottom of the concrete to the top of your water supply. That's roughly the distance from that clock right there to your front door. These concretes will be sitting on top of your water supply. I think as a city trustees, it's your responsibility to protect the water for these people, whatever it takes. They need your water daily. Try turning the faucet off for one day to see what happens. When a hot day like this, you'll go to air conditioner, so you can't take a shower, you can't wash your hands, your water's bad. You got to protect your water. You owe it to your people to protect your water at all costs. Thank you.
Bill Either? Ellen?
Bill Ellis?
Ellis?
Yeah.
Bill Ellis?
Thought by hearing things at the last minute, I just heard a few hours ago that Longview's come up with some kind of zoning deal that they haven't notified the homeowners about, or the landowners about a zoning within this 150 or a mile and a half, whatever it is. How did this all come about without hearing about it?
That's what we're saying. We have just learned of this within the last 2 months. There's nothing happened yet. We're trying to figure out what we need to do.
Are the people that live out here going to be notified that have a say-so or have anything to do with this, or are we just going to be sucked in and whether we like it or not, or what's the story here?
Well, we have board meetings once a month. So we encourage everybody to come to the board meetings, and
How are we supposed to know they're going to have it?
they're every third Wednesday of the month.
How are we supposed to know that you're going to be putting in this zoning thing if you don't notify us?
There is public posting outside of this building on the window.
I'm supposed to come in town every day and check the notices?
That's how we've been doing it for a number of years.
My question that
Did you need for us to notify you?
Well, I think you ought to. I think you ought to notify anybody that's in this zoning thing that you want to set up. I think that should be.
Well, we had a zoning commission that came about several years ago because we had no zoning. You're aware of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we had public meetings on that.
So what's that got to do with this mile and a half? That has nothing to do with this. I haven't heard anything about this mile and a half thing, what I'm getting at.
Do you mind if I explain mile and a half?
Pass this down here.
Is this in effect now or what?
That is not our zoning, that is state law.
This mile and a half is already a state law? A mile and a half is in the city?
Yes. A mile and a half from our city limits is what we're discussing.
That's funny, we're just now hearing about that.
That's why I asked if, since the mile and a half would take us into another county, I asked if it would be an impediment, that our jurisdiction, could our jurisdiction on this go past the county line?
Well, the farm's been out there since 1943, and this is the first I've ever heard anybody zoning.
Well, we welcome you to come every time, and we're happy to
If I don't
have
know
you
you're
here.
going to, how am I supposed to know you're going to have a zoning if you don't notify anybody?
Well, we will notify, we put up notices on the door. And so that it's publicly posted. And that's what we're required to do.
Really?
Yes.
You don't have to tell the landowners anything.
You mean we don't have to reach out to every individual
Yeah.
landowner? I don't believe we do.
No.
I believe as long as it's posted, I mean, even amongst our trustees, we've been talking about having a Facebook page. And some of our trustees do not have access to the internet. So we can't just put it on the internet. And the way we've been doing it for years is to post it on this door. And this was posted several days. I can attest to that, I saw it.
Now, we have talked off and on about putting it in the weekly paper, the Southern Champaign County, but that really hasn't gone anywhere. But here again, that could be a possibility, that if you see a notice, each week, you'll know when the meeting's going to be. You mean, you can, because I think Broadlands does that. They publish it in the papers. So, I mean, that's something I suppose we could do when we, have the agenda and all that, if that would help. But as far as anything else, other than going door to door, that's really about all we could do, and that's just not, feasible.
Doris Mooney.
I got nothing to say. All right, nothing to say. Surprise, Mark, sorry.
Floyd Ellis.
I'll be fine.
Keith Miller.
That's not. Keith Miller, you're up.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the board for allowing me to speak tonight. I've tried to remain neutral through this process due to my position as fire chief. We have a 17 square mile in Douglas County, along with mutual aid agreements with Newman, Margaretville, Grove, and Tuscola. We also run all of Allerton's medical, rescue, and mutual aid calls for fires in their districts, which include Champaign, Vermillion, and neighboring counties as well. So construction of this project will affect us by possibly having to run more medicals and rescues. The revenue we receive after this project is finished and will offset the cost of running these calls. Also, we will allow us to better serve and forward our people in our district. People in Douglas County are very passionate about their opinions either for or against the wind farm, which is their constitutional right. This is what our country was founded on. It's too bad that we are so upset with each other's opinions because they don't match others. We should be able to disagree and at the end of the day still remain friends. This project has put the fire department in Douglas County in a bad situation. We've been asked many times if we have a call to a person who is for or against the wind farm, if we are going to respond, and the answer is we have to go to every call. I fear that fire departments are going to end up with bad feelings toward the departments, whether they support or not the wind farm. With any project of this size, there are pros and cons. It is your job here tonight to decide if the pros or cons or what benefit or harm does the project weigh your vote. Thank you.
Steve Schwink.
I just want to say I live in Douglas County in your mile-and-a-half jurisdiction. I want to say it's a huge burden placed on you to make this decision and to have to inform yourselves and get everything together to know exactly what to do. I will not live in a flicker zone. I want to thank everybody here who spoke rationally. I feel very emotional about this. I live in a home, it's the only place I ever lived with my husband, my late husband. I raised my children there. I don't want to leave there. I will not live in a flicker zone. I will not live in a flicker zone. I live here not because I have family roots here. I love this place. I love my little piece of land. I love driving home from the city where I work and seeing the fields. This is my home, and it's where I raise my babies. And I want to implore you, please do what's right for the citizens. Don't be sweet talk for money. Interesting that they bring this great deal for you all now when all these people are showing up, right? Don't be swayed by the money. Do what's right for the people who live here in the long term, right? We can't, once these are up, there's nothing we can do. That's it.
Kirk Allen.
Thank you. My name is Kirk Allen. I want to emphasize a couple things from a historical standpoint. As a former township supervisor, we had implemented zoning within our township in accordance with township law. And I also testified in Springfield on this very matter. And we testified on several bills in Springfield across the board, not just wind farms. This legislation that was passed to strip townships of their zoning rights that they've had for years literally flew through faster than any legislation any senator has ever seen. And that came right out of the mouth of Senator Rose. We could not believe how fast this was pushed through. That's never good, because it's decisions made in haste. You've heard a lot of different opinions. Longview, think about that, and I appreciate the reference to Longview. One gentleman referenced the unknowns. You have unknowns. We all can agree, I think we all can agree with that. Call a special meeting, adopt a moratorium, which buys you time. You can always, in the future, when you have all your questions answered, rescind that. You have that power. But you need to do something fast, and I don't know of any other thing than what Mr. Kraft mentioned that will protect you. Now, in regards to the money side of it, it's a two-edged sword, and it's tough, and I appreciate you referencing the time limitation, because it's really hard to have a dialogue and get to the meat and potatoes of how someone presents something. As a fire chief, one of my first concerns was high-angle rescue. And I spent a career in the military. How many volunteer fire departments are certified for high-angle rescue? Virtually none. You're going to be waiting for high-angle rescue qualified personnel from outside this area more often than not, if that happens, unless the agency is providing that and you're not going to be subject to have to provide it. The little bit of money that is talked about, do the cost-benefit analysis and ask for the historical documents to support the arguments being made, not just listen to the arguments presented. And what I mean with that, if we give you money and we're going to put this in, how much money do you lose in property tax values over the next 10 years or 15 years? Where's the cost-benefit analysis? Do the history of what happened when they don't pay their property tax, which happened in Vermillion. There were several landowners that had property tax liens placed on because they didn't pay property tax. I don't recall the name of that particular company, but it happens. Step into a moratorium, buy yourself time, get answers to your questions on both sides of the aisles, and protect your community and your citizens. That's all I have. Thank you.
Jim, is that Jim Denman? Jim Denman?
I would donate all of my time to Mr. Porter, who speaks so wisely and authoritatively about this, and I endorse everything he said.
And I actually have a comment, if you're willing to allow me to do that. The moratorium is a great idea, but it doesn't solve your immediate problem. Your immediate problem is the decision of Douglas County was June 19th. Arguably, you have to appeal that decision by July 24th. And whether or not you issue a moratorium won't affect your failure to get the lawsuit on the file on time. So you got 1 week. And my clients can waive conflicts if we have to. You would have to waive conflicts if you want to just hire our firm and do it. I think it's cleaner if you had another, I'm assuming you're a professor.
I am.
It would be cleaner if you had another law firm file a suit and then we consolidate it. Because there's potential conflicts. You guys may decide, I hope you don't, that you want to negotiate with them sometime. My clients are going to do that. We're going to try to stop this thing. And so there's a little different footing that we're on. But you only got a week. July 24 is arguably the drop dead date. There's another statute that we believe actually applies, and it's 90 days, but we're being very cautious. So, moratorium's a great idea, but I would do that after you get somebody on board and get a lawsuit filed in the next 7 days. And you can do that, by the way, if you have, I thought what I think they're doing, maybe I'm wrong, was hiring new counsel tonight. You can then meet with them in closed session. You don't have to do that in open session because you're talking about potential litigation. I'll leave it to your.
I never do a closed session.
Okay, well,
I used to represent the county board here.
deciding, you're going to have decisions to make as to whether or not you want to join a lawsuit, what that is going to entail as far as expense, whether or not others will be willing to help pay for that. All of those are issues that you've got to address, and in the next 7 days. So how you go about doing that, I don't know. I was hoping you guys would have reached out to me sooner. It didn't work out that way. So
We're just overwhelmed. I mean, until this issue came up, until your company decided that we were going to you were going to change where you were putting your windmills, until you did that, we were talking about people not mowing their grass, and people not taking care of their garbage, and people not paying their water bills. And all of a sudden, we are right in the thick of this, which wasn't something we asked for, and now we have to deal with it.
let me ask one other question. So Douglas County refers to their wind energy conversion system projects. They have a wind energy conversion system ordinance, and they call it a special use. Well, if it's a special use, there's a whole different set of statutes that apply. And they require notices to be sent out, including to any municipality within 1.5 miles. Did EDP ever send you guys a written notice that Douglas County was having a hearing about wind turbines that were going to be within your 1.5 miles? So it's another basis that you guys have for arguing that you've been blindsided. If they would have sent you that notice, you would have known about this at least back in May. You could have hired some other counsel, maybe even shown up at that hearing and objected. None of that happened.
I think it's a great deal of disrespect. Oh, you're small, you are insignificant, we'll do what we wish.
And you already heard, I'm sorry, I forgot. Ms. Kurt has, EDP's position is they have the permits they need. That's the position they're taking. They've been very honest about that. So they do not believe that they need your approval in any way. They've also said they're going to talk to you to negotiate because they know darn well that's right. The statute is absolutely clear. So they're trying to get you to negotiate after the fact, which I personally don't believe they have the authority to do. County, I'll tell you, towns do it all the time. They negotiate with turbine companies and then have the counties handle the hearing. There's nothing in the statute that says they can do that, though. That actually, in and of itself, may not have any legal authority for taking some payment from them and then saying, okay, you can put them within 1.5 miles. I don't see any legal basis in the statutes for it. But that's why it's still cleaner if you had other counsel to be talking to you about those aspects while I'm out here trying to stop the whole project. I'm available over the next 7 days, and so you've got to reach out to me. I can't act for you without you hiring me or hiring somebody else that I can work with. I just can't do anything for you. So the immediate thing, I agree with the moratorium, but I think you're better off if you get involved in this lawsuit right away. You have a basis to seek a temporary injunction in this case. They have, Douglas County has issued permits when they have no authority to do so. I've had a lot of these cases over the years. That specific issue has never been so clear.
Bill Thomas is the last one on the list.
You guys still have my little proposal for a timeline?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Does not include July 24th? All right, my understanding was, my recommendation was get the village attorney in here get some answers, and not necessarily in a public forum. Assign someone to meet with the village attorney, get some information, and encourage them to come to the meeting. That was my thought. And that's where I still stand, and I'm not sure who the village attorney is, but my understanding is, my little committee reference, my option for forming committee is on the agenda.
Yes, it is.
That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Okay, so we're done with public comment. Okay, Bill, Water Department.
You got my, my watch list. Those are, three non-pays who are subject to get shut off, just so you know. So those shuttles will be happening this week. I will check the bills one more time, make sure they have paid. If they haven't, they will be shut off, just so you know. I don't see the treasurer's report, but I don't know if the guy at Hanflon sending their bill for the.
Yes.
Boy, good. I just want to make sure, because he was.
Yes, that was one of the things I wanted to discuss tonight.
That's really all I had for the water. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so for new business, you guys made the comment the other day that, at our last meeting, that if Andrew Beckett was not available to come, that we needed to seek other counsel. He was not able to come tonight, he's on vacation. So I would like to, I have received a few names for me to consider for village attorney, and after considering those, I feel it will be in the best interest of the village to hire Craig and Craig.
Who's the other people who made that decision to hire Craig and Craig?
I did.
The rest of us seeing it. Who's the other people that you are considering?
Well,
Have to vote.
I don't feel that that's important. So, I'm just not considering anybody else at this time.
Okay, where's Craig and Craig from?
Mattoon.
Mattoon.
Yes. And I would turn it over to Patrick Lee. He can tell you a little bit about the firm and give us some more information.
Folks, if you want to set a clock for 3 minutes, that would seem fair at this point. And you may have all heard enough strong opinions tonight. I want to say my name is Patrick Lee. I'm a partner with Craig and Craig in Mattoon, Illinois. We've been there at that same location for 151 years this year. My retired partner tells me that he thinks that we are the firm that has been in the same place under the same name longer than any other firm in Illinois and probably any other firm in America. I've never challenged him on that. We have in our Mattoon office, which is our original office, 6 partners, including myself. We have 3 associates, including Amanda Mank here, who recently joined the firm after graduating from law school last year. And of course, most of you don't know me, but probably a lot of you know her because she's local. Our firm does a lot of different kinds of work. We do civil defense, we do a lot of probate work, but for years a small but consistent part of our job has been doing municipal representation. When I first joined the firm, which is 15 years ago next month, I started working with one of our partners, Greg Ray, representing the village of Gaze. So I came up used to representing a small town. Greg warned me early on that if you are representing a town that size with the expectation that you're going to get rich off of it, you're making a strange business decision. And Greg emphasized to me always that the reason that we did it is because we are from downstate Illinois. We appreciate that small villages are the lifeblood of this area. We appreciate the fact that we are going to be giving assistance to people on board who are, if not strictly volunteers, awfully close to it most of the time. And a lot of the time are dealing with more abuse than whatever reward they're getting out of it. But first and foremost, we're there to help those people solve problems.
How many wind farm suits have you been involved in?
My firm is involved in one right now.
How far in, like new or in the middle of it? Or?
I'm not personally involved in that suit. I don't have a sense for where the middle is in these things, to be honest. It's been going on for a while. I came here now with the expectation that you're looking for someone to specifically handle just a wind farm issue and done. I came here with the expectation that what this village is looking for is for a law firm that's going to be around another 150 years, as I hope this town will be, and that there's going to be some continuity in that representation. And that whether you're dealing with the routine stuff that a small village deals with, and by that I'm talking about those nuisance ordinance violations and those routine zoning issues. And I'm talking about preparing your annual documents for your budgets and appropriations if you need help with that. Certainly we're always there to do that. But I think you also have the advantage of a firm that is large enough and has enough expertise within the firm that when you have a problem come at you out of nowhere, like this problem that the wind farm apparently has, you're working with people who you can trust, people you have a relationship with, and people you can rely upon to get up to speed quickly and efficiently and be able to answer your questions. And it seems to me like that is something that you need right now. So I would encourage the board to consider its options with respect to lawyers that are available out there. It seems to me that right now it sounds like you need someone pretty quickly to render some of that advice. I hope you consider our firm. Thank you.
Were we to hire you for this position, would you be attending our meetings?
I would certainly anticipate that Amanda would attend the meetings. And I'll mention that Amanda has been, from day one, involved in all of our municipal practice. And we've been throwing about everything that I can think of, from nuisance ordinance rewrites.
I'm sorry, is that a yes or a no?
That's a yes.
Amanda, she was our mayor, so yeah.
Well, I understand that. Yes, ma'am. The short answer is that Amanda...
It's been a long night.
It has been a long night, ma'am, for me too. The short answer is that, yeah, I think if you would like Amanda to be at the monthly board meetings, she could be at the monthly board meetings. If we decide that that is the best way for her to stay abreast as to what is going on, I would certainly encourage that. Now, whether the best approach to these things is to have a lawyer there who's going to be quizzed in real time by board members or the general public about what may be difficult legal issues that warrant some consideration and some research. Well, I'm not so sure that that is the best way to answer a complicated question by cutting someone off and just saying yes or no.
Oh, so I guess my question was a very difficult question to answer. All I wanted to know, since it's painfully obvious that we have a big problem that we are wrestling with, and all I wanted to know is, are we going to have an attorney here? As I understand it, our previous attorney did not get back to our mayor for days and months. And I mean, it's like, what kind of a council is that? Again, we feel like it's a short trip. Here we are, little town, insignificant, not wealthy. And you can tell me, you can tell me the entire evening how long your firm has been in business. I don't think you've been in business with them that long. And all I wanted to know is if you're going to come to our meetings when we have to deal with something difficult. Not a hard question.
Betty, let me answer your question. My name is Amanda May, for those of you who don't know, and I was village president here for more than a decade. I would absolutely be available to come to your meetings if you want me to. And certainly, I care about Longview, you know that, or else I wouldn't have been involved in the local governance here for that long duration. So you have somebody who is not going to give you short shrift and who wants to listen and wants to help you through whatever issues.
So when you're saying it was hiring the firm, but we're really hiring you?
Right,
I will be working with partners, and
and we know where that got us.
each of us would, have our own specialty. For example, the partner he mentioned who has worked on wind farm issues.
Okay.
May I make a suggestion? I believe we need to take a short recess,
Yeah,
have
we do need
a
to
board
have a
only
recess. I make a
meeting
motion
on
that we
this.
have a recess.
Because this is going to get quickly out of hand. I'm afraid.
That would be a closed session, not a recess.
Right, well, we're gonna have a recess first,
Yeah,
and then
just a
we'll go into
recess,
closed
and then we'll come
session
back.
for a moment.
Okay.
Yeah,